Well, welcome in for another Game Time Greatness podcast. I'm your host and commissioner, Brandon Scott. I've got a special one for you here today.
It's game time, game time, game time. We winning, it's game time, game time.
Today, the plan is going to be to create a tier list of what I believe the teams are going to look like this year going forward, and I'll update it throughout the season. Getting into it, we're going to start off, we're going to go in order. So we got CC's team first. I've got my tier list here on the left, and I've got the team here on the right. I have CC ranked in at an A. And I made these tiers before any news, so probably cursed him and gave him the Kelsey injury. But, I mean, I think his teams are solid. He's got the Mahomes, Kelsey stack. I think Kelsey will come back and be fine. I'm kind of surprised I like his team as much as I do because I don't like all of his players are risky, but I feel like enough of them are gonna pan out that I like it. I like DJ Moore, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman. I think two of those guys will hit. Josh Jacobs and Ken Walker I think will be solid throughout the year. Honestly, now looking back on it, I'd probably give it a B, but we're going to stick with my original ranking of an A. No, it's more of a B+, I guess, though. All right, moving on, we've got Cole's team. He loses points for not having changed his name yet. I've got Cole, unfortunately, ranked in at the C tier. I think this may be the year he doesn't make playoffs. If the two tight ends... He's got George Kittle, who already might not play week one. Kyle Pitts, who we haven't seen do it yet. I like Derrick Henry, but his RB2 is A.J. Dillon. I got to put him in C tier. Next up, we have myself. I would love to give myself an S tier, but I'm not deserving of that. And the Cooper Kupp injury... I think it's going to linger long into the season. I think he's going to be out the first month of the season, and then when he comes back, he might hurt himself again. So looking at my team without Kupp, I'm gonna put myself in the B category. I think it's more of a B plus or an A minus. I've got sketchy running backs. Should be a top 5 tight end. My receiving core still should be good even without Kupp, but I put myself in the B tier. Next up, we got Jarvis. He also loses points for not having changed his name yet. I mean, get it together, dude. I like Jarvis's team a lot. I'm putting him in the A category. Kind of surprised through this tier list so far. I have CC and Jarvis in my A tier, but I mean, his team's good. I think Lamar's going to have a career year. I think he could finish as QB1. I think he will finish as top 3. Diggs, I think Watson has a good year. He's risky, but he's going to be good. Ayuk's going to be good once Kittle's hurt. Saquon and Mixon he has probably one of the best running back duos in our league. And I think these guys in his flex and tight end are serviceable. I think his big weakness is that he doesn't use the waiver wire, but right now his team's an A. Throughout the year, I'm sure he'll get bumped down once other people have used the waiver wire and he hasn't. All right, moving off the teams for a second, I skipped over this one. I got guy who cheats on the GG League. So we had this guy, he said he's quitting fantasy and doesn't want to play fantasy anymore. And then come to find out he's playing in a 16-team league. And, you know, I mean, just hurts, man. We get it. We're not cool enough for you, I guess. It is what it is. All right, next up we've got Ethan. This is my first and only S tier. I mean, I think Ethan drafted phenomenally. I think he got good value at all his picks. CD, Amon-Ra, Keenan, Lockett, probably the best receiving core now that I lost Kupp. ETN, I think, has a path to top 5 running backs. Connor, I'm a little worried about, but he got a guy that he can plug in there, and if not, then he has Cook or Herbert. I think the depth of I like all of his players, including his first bench slot, and so he's an S tier for me. Next up, we got Hymns for Championship, otherwise known as Grant. Grant, unfortunately, I think I may have voted you worst draft, but once I was looking back at this, I put you solidly in the B category. I mean, the team's solid. You got Burrow, Chase, they're going to be every week starters. I think Devonta Smith's going to be up and down, but I think he's going to be probably a top 15-ish, assuming health. Tony, I don't like. Mostert's cool, but it looks sketchy, but he'll probably be good for the first few weeks. But I'm not a big fan of Tony, Pierce, Mostert, and Mooney all in your starting spots. That's why I gave you the B. Everybody else I really like on your team. I hope Tony does good. You know I've been a fan of him in the past, but he's risky, could be elite. You clearly drafted to win, not to, you know what I mean? You took the risk to win. So I gave you a B. I think it's pretty good. I think me and you have the best B teams that I categorized, but good picks and bad picks both, so you get B. Thielen hot, otherwise known as Zachary, or as Jake will call him, Sack. I like your team. Unfortunately, you're going to be joining me and Grant in the B category. Hurts should be a top 3 quarterback. Adams going to be good. I actually didn't like Godwin going this year, but after watching that preseason game, I know it's preseason, but I think he's going to be good. Really like Chubb. Probably, if I had to make a hot take, it's not that hot, but I'd have Chubb as RB1 on the year. I don't like Hopkins. I don't like Swift. Deion Jackson, you got great value. I like Pat. Dalvin Cook's a little risky to me. You're probably a B+. If these guys break the right way, you easily will be bumped up into the A category or maybe even an S next time I do this one. Next up, we got Baby Back Gibbs, otherwise known as Matt. Still mad at him from taking Gibbs from me. I don't think I got Gibbs in any league. I have him in Dynasty at least. Matt, I've got you again in the B category. I like certain picks, and I think certain picks are horrible, so it's one of those things. I mean, that's just how fantasy is. Fields should be phenomenal, but obviously he's a little risky, but I think that's a great pick for fantasy. Jefferson is going to be a beast. DK is going to be solid. Kirk, I'm a little worried about with rumblings of him not playing in 3 wide receiver sets, but you got to bet on the talent. It's probably good. I like Gibbs, hate Dobbins, hate Juwan Johnson. These 2 flexes, I just feel horrible about these rolling with these 2 flexes into week 1. I think these are good later year ads as well as A-Chain, but I'm a little worried about both of these flex starts and Dobbins, and that's why I'm going to give you a B. Again, same thing as Zach. I think a lot of these teams are really close. Even Cole in the C category, it's hard to bet against him with what he's done the last few years, but I wanted to at least have some disparity throughout this tier list. Moving on, we got Jake. JSPN's top 10. He's on the Ridley train. It's at least a little bit biased from his Falcon days, but T-Law, I think T-Law should be pretty good this year. I mean, I'm surprised how little he was talked about, but it just depends on what media you consume. Some people talked about him a lot. Some people didn't talk about him. I think Dotson, phenomenal pick, especially early on in the year. I think he's going to be a wide receiver 1. Throughout the year, he might be inconsistent, and he might fall off a little bit once McLaurin comes back, but I kind of think Eric Bieniemy being in Washington, I think that whole offense is going to be better. I think Jahan's going to be a great pick this year. Sky Moore, don't like that starting. Don't like Miles Sanders. I like Kincaid over the long term, but he's definitely risky. And don't like Charbonnet in the starting lineup week 1. So because of Charbonnet, Sanders, and Sky Moore all in the starting lineup, you get B. Once Jason and Breece Hall come back, you'll be in the A. And then if some of those players are good, you'll be in the S. But you're in B for now. All right, we got Mike up next. Mike, I got in the A category. He was like depressed after the draft because he didn't draft Jahan Dotson. I don't think he'll ever recover. Jake, he may trade you his first round pick for Jahan at this point. But I mean, his team has so much upside, and it's really good. I don't like Deshaun, but honestly, besides that, I like everybody else in his starting lineup, and he has Kamara coming back week 4, so that's why he's an A tier for me. All right, next up we got Parker, or I should just say we got the twin, and Josh Allen, Garrett Wilson. It's really, really good. I think Dobbs is going to have a good year overall. I got Parker in. I couldn't decide between Parker. I had him between an A and a B. We're gonna put him at like a B plus, just because I like everybody in a starting lineup. I definitely think there's a lot of risk here, and there's players to like and not to like. But overall, I think it was a pretty good draft, and I kind of thought he would have a year where he wasn't as good this year, but his team seems like it should be solid. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, last up we got Noah. Now Noah, for me, I couldn't decide between the B and the C tier. I actually put him in the B tier, but to give him a little extra motivation, I'm going to put him down here with his boy Cole Bennett. They can be buddies. But I think his team could be really good, but he's got a lot of risk, and going into week 1, his team is really scary. I think by the end of the year, his team will be good, but I mean, Debo should be good, but he's sketchy. Terry probably won't play week 1. Montgomery's his RB2, which he should get touchdowns, but Goddard is kind of Goddard. And he's starting Michael Thomas and Anthony Richardson as a rookie. I don't know. I'm coming back around on it now that I'm looking at it again, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with the C+, just to give him the little extra motivation. Once these guys, if Kareem Hunt signs, Judy and Jameson come back, and Kyler, I mean, he's clearly playing for the playoff push, but this is a tier list of going into week 1. So because of that, he's going to be in the C category for me. So that finishes up the tier list. I had a few hot takes before we begin the year I would like to get off my chest. After the draft, I was thinking this could be the year that Brandon, Jake, and Cole Bennett all miss playoffs. And those are 3 perennial, every year you're counting on them in the playoffs. If the guys up top can work the waiver wire good, I believe that could come true. But I don't think they will. Looking at you, Jarvis. Looking at you, CeCe. Even looking at you, Mike. You're pretty good at the waiver wire, but I don't know, man. But that was my hot take. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Gametime Greatness Podcast. I'm your host and commissioner, Brandon Scott. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great rest of the fantasy season.